So the wheels are off, and with a bit of movie magic done, tires are mounted. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. It's been a little bit since I did a video update on the car and whatnot. I kind of didn't have parts, but I did get some stuff in. I did notice some other things off camera because there's no point. I was trying to set the ride height on the car, and as I was doing it, I noticed a lot of wear on a bushing that I don't know how I didn't notice when I initially put the suspension in, and I'll get to that there in a moment. I did get some tires for the front. They're 205 40 17 instead of the I think 35 45 17 that are currently on the car. So this should clear up some clearance, I guess. I just gotta find a place somewhere around here that will mount a slightly stretched tire. But they are Falcon Zinis, the RT 660. I got pretty aggressive tires for the front because with drifting, you need as much front grip as you would in any race car. That's one thing I see a lot of people, they'll run cheap all seasons in the front. But on the Formula Drift cars or anybody that drifts professionally, they always have really, really good tires on the car. I am a big fan of tires. I get nerd out a little bit about tires, but good tires make all the difference in how a car performs. And is get good tires and learn the car, learn its limits, and go from there. Because that is the only thing making contact with the road. You could throw 1,000 horsepower at a car and all the suspension upgrades in the world, but if you're running all season tires, you're still going to be pretty slow because they don't grip. The rears I'll leave as is for now. After they get burnt off, I'll probably get better tires, but by then I'll hopefully get the car dialed in to where I know how aggressive of a tire I want to get, and then we won't have all this meat anymore. Get these mounted. I'll have to try to find a place. I kind of screwed up not realizing that the one place I was told will mount stretch tires is actually closed on Saturdays, but it is what it is. Another thing that I got is just a new coolant bottle. These, as everything else in the world nowadays, are starting to become unavailable. I won't need it anytime soon, but the original one is all yellowed out and old, and it just bothers my eyes, so I ordered a new one. It was only like $40. As you see laying out right here, I noticed when I was taking the coilovers back off to adjust them, because I don't have Burger King hands, and when it's sitting down in there, I couldn't adjust the perches, so I took them down to adjust the ride height. When I did notice this. I don't know how I missed that when I did the suspension initially, but I did. So instead of just replacing this $2 bushing or whatever, I think they're like $5, I opted out to go to FCP Euro as usual and get all the rear control arms. So these are the bushings in question that actually are failed. I did buy a kit for pressing out bushings, but I got everything I will need. So I got all the control arms, lower, upper, everything that comes with new hardware. FCP Euro sells a whole kit for the rear suspension, something like $300, and I figured if that's failed, all these other ones are to follow, so might as well get them. The one mistake I did make is these are triple squares, and I don't have any triple squares. So while I go on a hunt to get my front tires mounted somewhere, I'm going to try to locate some triple squares. Probably should have looked in the box, but when I was taking it all out for the video, I noticed that the new hardware that came with it is triple squares, not regular nuts and bolts. So that's what I'm going to do first. But once I'm done, everything on the rear will be brand new suspension wise, everything on the front will be brand new suspension wise, so there will be no 30-year-old parts on steering, brakes, and suspension on this car. All of that is going to be overhauled, and I think that's the best way to go for something that is going to spend its life being driven to the max. And let me get these front wheels off, we'll load them in the truck, and hopefully I get a little bit of luck, and hopefully I could find a store locally that sells a triple square set that will work for me. One more thing that I did off camera, I had my girlfriend help me re-bleed the brakes. I wasn't happy with how they felt, and I had the car up in the air and just hitting the pedal, it didn't give confidence. Same with the e-brake, so instead of using the power bleeder, I just did it the old school way. I had her sit in the car, pump the brakes, pump the handbrake, and I got them bled, and now I think the brakes feel great. Obviously they still have to get bedded in once the car is roadworthy. Alright guys, so bit of luck. I had to go to like 3 or 4 different places, but I found kind of a sketchy tire shop that would mount the tires for me today. They said it would be a few hours before they could get to them, so I dropped them off. People get really weird, you know, you go to like bigger places like Just Tires or AutoZone, and they won't mount anything that doesn't originally come with the car, and I'm not even sure what the wheels came off of exactly, but I was able to find a place that didn't really care that they're 205 40s instead of 235 45s. And so I gotta wait for that for a little bit. In the meantime, I did find some triple squares at the old AutoZone. They're kind of long, not ideal, but beggars can't be choosers. I probably should have planned better or had a set of triple squares anyway, since I work on a lot of European cars. But I might as well head back to the house, start working on the car, and hopefully I'll get a call from them soon that the tires are ready, and we'll be back in business. Alright, so while the tires are getting mounted, I'm going to start tearing this thing apart. The Mark 3 is dead, so I have to charge it. This is what happens when you don't drive your cars often, but all this is going to have to come off because I'm not a magician. I can't get to the bolts back there without taking all this off. So I got the triple square and everything else. It's going to be a long day, but once it's done, it's done. I do realize that suspension stuff is not the most exciting thing in the world, but it needs to be done. It is what it is. Alright guys, so here we are. I got most of everything off. I just decided to swap them one at a time and leave them loose. So this is the new one. This is the one with the ball joint that's new. Here's the old one. And you could see all the bushings are done for, so this was the right call. I mean, this ball joint's a little loose, but not too bad. But overall, I think the suspension is going to feel a lot tighter. What I did notice, this is the new control arm, and it's double stamped. This is the upper control arm, and this is the one that I just took off. So it is even stronger, but all these bushings are eaten up. The first thing I did that I started with is I broke all of them loose, just so I know I could get them all off. The hub kind of, you know, keeps it in place, so it makes it a little easier to at least put a socket on every single one of them, break them all loose. This heat shield down here, I just bent it out of the way. I really didn't feel like pulling the axle off and everything. I might still, solely because this one's seized, but now I'm able to rotate and have more space to it. So I'm gonna try to heat it and try to get it out and salvage what I can, and then change out the bushing here and in there. I just gotta get this one off. That's the old one. Not too bad considering. I'm probably an hour or so into this and it's not too bad. But it is a southern car, so it didn't see much rust. All the rust on here, I mean, this is all surface rust, which I'm gonna probably end up hitting with some paint once I get it all sorted. Alright, so all these horns are on. Everything's new. I did everything with some undercoat and some paint, so it looks all nice and fresh. Fresh new hardware. Now this pipe begins. I'm heating this up because that bolt is seized, so if I can bang it out and do this lower control arm, then all I have to do is throw it together. I managed to successfully break this loose with a little bit of effort. Come on. I had that tire there, so it doesn't spring back on me so much while I was hammering it. Fine. So I got my tool here. Obviously this is a generic tool, but I found a couple bushings that will work, and hopefully easy breezy we could just drive this bushing out. I use a socket to extend that a little bit, but this old bushing's out. It's got a metal sleeve on it. This one did not. Alright guys, so status update. I got all the control arms on and off fairly easily. I got the front tires mounted and they're on, and I'm very happy with the end result. When it comes to the bushings that had to get pressed in and out, even using the control arm bushing kit, I was not able to get them out. It's kind of a pain. So status update is like so. I have chosen to pull the whole hub off, so that's what that looks like. I will take this to my work and use a pneumatic press to press this out, and then to press these in on both ends. I figured that would make my life significantly easier. I figured I'd be able to do it by hand using this here kit, but such is life, old car problems. So now I just gotta tear the other side apart, but a little bit annoyed. A little bit frustrated, a little bit tired. The control arms maybe all took an hour, hour and a half, and I spent the rest of the time trying to fight these bushings out, and they're so rusted. It's a losing battle, and I'm not going to waste any more time. I'm going to tear the other side apart, take the hub off and the lower control arm off, take it to my work in the morning, press the bushings out, and then should be pretty easy and quick to put it all back together. On a more positive note, I am very happy with the new front tires. I mean, the car looks more proper and I'm able to get full lock to lock without anything touching, and it looks less like a Jeep in the front. So, getting somewhere. house and throw it all together and put the car on the ground. Alright guys, so I'm back now. I went to my work, got them pressed out. I'd say that definitely without a press it wouldn't have been possible. Like, even with the press, the amount of effort it took, and when the bushings finally went, it was like a gunshot. But that's out of the way. Now it comes time to put it together. She's all done. Brand new bushings. The other control arms are over there. I gave them a quick spray, make them look a little bit nicer. But I got all these new bolts and everything else, and time to get cracking. Alright guys, so all this is now done. All new everything. So literally the car's brand new brakes, studs, calipers, suspension, every end link, every bushing. I have no excuses to run into problems. The suspension's never been this tight on this car, so I'm sure that will make a world of difference. I'm very happy with how that looks. I will probably have to raise it up a little bit more, although this kind of looks badass. There's a few things that you got to keep in mind when doing suspension and stuff like that, and one being when you're installing any type of control arm, anything with a bushing in it, you have to set it and tighten it at the height that the suspension will be when it's loaded. Otherwise you're just putting unnecessary stress on those brand new bushings, and they're going to fail quicker just from the car sitting there, in the garage with all that extra weight on it. Alright guys, so here we are. The car is back on the ground. All the rear suspension's done. I have to dial in the alignment a little bit, but I'm going to build some wooden blocks probably in the next video to be able to get it up off the ground so I could get to all the adjustments. But officially all of the suspension links, control arms, bushings, everything has been replaced. But we do have a problem, kind of a major problem. I'll have to reach out to Feel on Monday and see what's going on here, but this, as the car sits, is the highest the front end will go. It's maxed out on the purchase. In the rear here is the lowest it will go. So something is definitely not right. I'm thinking maybe they sent me the wrong springs. I wasted a bunch of time trying to get to the bottom of this and what is exactly going on. I tried, and if you get creative, I even tried the front springs on the rear, which actually made the rear a little bit lower, and then the rear springs on the front, which made no difference at all, no matter what I do. And I know I changed the geometry with the extended control arms, but even on the stock wheels, the front end pretty much lays on the ground. The car is virtually undrivable. I was able to move it back and forth out of the garage somewhat. Good news is the brakes work really well, and so does the e-brake, but it literally is rubbing on the front fenders. So Feel is a huge company. They have good customer service, so I'm sure it will get squared away. Or maybe they'll just tell me that I am an idiot and I don't know how to install suspension. But that remains to be seen. So the car is on the ground. somewhat mobile. I'm pretty much done with everything I could do suspension wise. I looked into a bump steer kit for the front. The only thing is it reuses the original gearbox setup and the same type of tie rods and everything else. So I don't think that would work for when I go to the 400E steering rack on it, where it's a normal power steering rack, like a rack and pinion style instead of a gearbox. So I'm gonna hold off on that for now until I have that mounted in place and I know what kind of tie rods I need. I know I have to still do some modifications to tie rods. I still kind of want to change the position where the tie rod mounts, and I wouldn't mind changing the actual tie rods to a ball style, but we'll get to that. I'd rather get the car running, driving, see how it feels, and then make changes afterwards. But as it sits, I had to put some blocks underneath the control arm so it's not laying on the tire completely, and it obviously looks kind of funky with the forward rake and the camber maxed out. But those are things they still have to get sorted. It is what it is, I guess. But I'm happy with how all the other rear end suspension stuff turned out. So this is probably the last video I'll post before Christmas time, because Christmas is this upcoming week. Monday, we're heading out to go see family, so I won't be in town. And then I probably won't get any parts for it either. The seats got delayed again. The original delivery date would have been the 25th, I think they said, or availability date. Now it's been pushed back to January 15th. So we'll see. I might look into getting different seats in the front instead of the ones that I'm planning on getting. And we'll see. Right now, I'm a little bit disappointed and discouraged with the suspension thing, but I don't want to bash feel. I mean, they could have sent the wrong part numbers. I pulled the part numbers off the springs that are on it. Or maybe I'm just stupid and can't install suspension. So please consider subscribing, like, comment, share my videos, give me suggestions. Maybe you've installed field suspension on 190E and I'm somehow doing something wrong. Although it's pretty straightforward like any other suspension. There's nothing different about it. But thanks for watching, and until next time.